If you're a high-performing entrepreneur and you're hitting an invisible ceiling, you can't work any harder, and the way that you got to this level of success doesn't feel aligned anymore, there are precise moments encoded in your subconscious that are actually creating that limit to protect you. And there's a methodology that can dissolve them instantly. I'm Bianca Iono. I'm creator of Aligned Wealth Energetics. And in this video, I'm sharing how to identify the self-sabotaging patterns capping your income and impact, and the technique that makes my client quantum leap their results. Where the less they try and the less effort they put in, the more they grow. This includes one of my clients who dissolved a memory around postnatal depression with her first child many, many years earlier. And once we dissolved that, she ended up building an 8-figure business in a brand new industry in the next 12 months. That's right. There are constraints and chaos from your past that can be the catalyst that launches you into a complete new trajectory of success. Want to know more? Let's go. This is Aligned Wealth Energetics for established entrepreneurs, where entrepreneurs come when they've built real success, when they've achieved so much in their life that they're really proud of, but they know there's more, and there's a friction between where they are and the potential that they can see, and feeling like even though they're doing all the right things, they're making plenty of big, bold moves, they're not stacking the way they thought they would. And the results that are manifesting aren't actually what they expected. And so this tension between who you are and what you can see, becoming the leader who can step into that next level with ease without having to force, to push, to prove, to hustle. This is the big identity shift. This is the letting go of all the ways that has got you to where you are right now. What we find is that when you can see a bigger evolution of what's to come for you, but there's something out of alignment. Essentially, if you haven't made it happen yet, it's because there's something out of alignment with the way you've created your level of success to date. There's something appearing in your life that you wouldn't consciously choose. And so therefore, you hold yourself back subconsciously from amplifying that. This is where you might subconsciously just redirect or self-sabotage in ways that you just can't quite name, keeping yourself small, keeping yourself hidden, keeping yourself capped at a level of revenue, of profits, of joys, of impact that feels safe. Right now, this is for you if you know you're at this pivot point, a juncture where who you've been being can't take you where you're going. And something invisible keeps you from claiming what you know innately can be possible and what you can see out there. And what I discovered is that this same pattern that created your initial success now has become your ceiling. And so in Aligned Wealth Energetics, we find that precise encoded pattern, we dissolve it and let you expand into your next level without recreating what you don't want to amplify. And so this is totally a case study. My work is constantly life imitating art, imitating life. And I've been deep in the throes of this apprenticeship of taking what happened for me when I became a triplet mom. There was a huge identity shift that happened where I could no longer keep being the mother in business that I was. I was changing 29 diapers a day. I was having this full on, as many rounds as possible of burping, of changing, of feeding, of cuddling and sleeping. I had to stop breastfeeding full time at 8 weeks because I actually couldn't get 10 minutes uninterrupted to pump. That's how full on and hectic it was. But what I discovered over this time was I shifted the quality and the caliber of questions I was asking myself. And so I ended up tripling my revenue and impact in the same year that I tripled my birth rate. So the year that I had the least bandwidth for my business was the year that I made more money having 3 newborns. I had way more fun. I was way more embodied, expressed, evolved out there than I ever was working full time without a baby at all. What actually happened? What was this quantum leap? Well, I've spent the last 4 to 5 years really studying this, really studying energetics at the highest level behind 7 and 8 figure businesses, behind ground startup businesses. What I discovered is that there is this unique encoding that happens when you are at this juncture point, when there is a bigger vision calling you forward, and yet there's still the chaos or the baggage or the constraints that you're currently dealing with that you don't want to take into your next level. With this subconscious success reprogramming tools backed by science, neuroplasticity tools, it's also ancient wisdom. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, kinesiology, NLP, hypnosis, all of these amazing, incredible tools. We can actually take all the things that got you here, drop the dysfunctional parts that are creating friction, and take all the learnings, take all the gold from it, but leave the baggage and the drag behind and actually use that to be the catapult into your next evolution. And so I'm thinking of Candace, who came to me and she said, I was calling multiple 7 figures into my business, but I felt that who I had been being may not get me there. What we discovered was that the last time using this technique, the last time she was feeling that wealthy and that abundant, she could tie that to undiagnosed postnatal depression. And so her subconscious didn't want to help her recreate that same level of visibility or that same level of abundance because it was associated with some of the darkest, deepest moments in her life. And when we defragged that, when we diffused that and cleared it so that she no longer had that same imprint of more success equals more burden, more sadness, more bad things that might happen, she actually found this opportunity. She launched into a brand new industry. And within 3 months, she had created a 7 figure business. Within 6 months, it was a multiple 7 figure business. And within 12 months, she had 2 locations, umpteen staff, and was at a 8 figure business. And she just keeps on going from strength to strength from there. And that's how powerful this work really is. When we get to a level of success and we find it kind of feeling blah, we find it feeling a little bit like there's, you're grateful, but it's feeling a little bit monotonous. It's feeling a little bit stifled, and you just want to break free and just be yourself and have the manifestation of that show up in new opportunities, in record breaking revenue launches, and exciting new strategic alliances that just blow your mind at the level of impact. And this is what we do when we rewire your relationship to success, when we help you channel the aliveness that comes through you when you are in your power, when you aren't outsourcing it to scarcity, hustle, the versions and the decisions that you made when you were 3 years old, or the imprints that happened in your family household, or that sort of, traumatic event that happened so long ago that you don't really think about anymore and you don't really realize is still actually having an impact on how you're running your business today. This is the place where we help you pull that apart. And so you can expand, you can use those constraints or the chaos from your past and use it as a catalyst to launch you into your completely new trajectory, a whole new trajectory where you get to keep all the learnings and all the gold from those memories and those events, but completely re-encode it in your memory and how your body stores it. So you can now access that next level success without sacrificing your peace, your joy, your presence with your family and your loved ones, and really meet yourself. Meet yourself in your brilliance, your best, and see what it really looks like when you back yourself the entire way. So if you're keen for that, stay tuned because we're going to unpack a little bit about what it was like for me. So I have been a student with my head underneath the hood, looking at mechanics of what it really takes to be a entrepreneurial woman on this pivot point, on this precipice of your next greatest adventure, knowing that there are things that are holding you back and they're kind of invisible and you don't know what it is, but you definitely know that there's something showing up in the way that you're running your business and your life that you wouldn't consciously choose. So somehow, somewhere, you are subconsciously choosing it and co-creating it. And the tools that I've really had, so NLP, neuro linguistic programming, has definitely helped ground all of the work that I do so that you can see where the glitches are happening, where are the incongruences. Emotional clearing is based off kinesiology, and it's actually been allowed me to bypass the stories of the conscious mind and actually nail what's going on in somebody's body, in somebody's energy field, and how that is playing out in their business. And I'm just sort of having these own like piecing together of my genius. And as a elite athlete, I really did well at CrossFit because CrossFit rewards the generalist. But before that, I thought I was always like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Little did I know, Gene Keys actually shows this as my life purpose, where the gift of this is mastery and versatility. And even in volleyball, the position that I played was called universal. So it's kind of like I can step into all the different roles, and I'm definitely not the best and the flashiest player, but I can see what needs to happen holistically. And it's kind of like when things get to the business end of the set, that's of the game, that's what we used to call it. Then under the pressure, I always knew how to bring it together and drive the team home to victory. And so what I've really been seeing is my ability to see systems holistically, read somebody's body and see how it's channeling out through how they speak their message, how they speak their truth, how they embody that wisdom, how they allow that to speak for them in their sales, in their delivery, in their marketing, and then also what holds them back from really just surrendering into their highest level of mastery, their effortless genius. And so what I've found is that I've been doing this kind of work over a longer period of time because in my mind, that's what it really takes to find these patterns, to work with them, to relax them. But I guess now I've had this evolution in my own modality kit and had another neuroplasticity tool where we can actually target precisely where these memories have been encoded and shift them at the root to the point where you might even not have any memory of the event that we shifted. And that might sound a little bit scary for you, but your subconscious will never do anything that is not in your best interests. So if you want to remember the event, you will still remember the event, preserve all the learnings from it, and move forward without the negative emotional charge. So when I came back from learning about this neuroplasticity technique called Haveny, I used it on my husband. And I said, do you have some kind of event, a memory that was really traumatic for you? And he goes, yep, remember exact one. It's like 30 years ago. I said, how would you rate that charge out of 10? He's like, oh, 11 out of 10 if I think about it. Yeah, that was a really impactful, stressful moment. And so we did this Habening technique. So this is where they studied infant massage and they saw the shifts that happen with this touch, which is just the kind of touch that we do if we reach over and comfort somebody if they're crying, or if you rub your shoulder and just like a nice little comforting rub on the shoulder down to the elbow, or just when you maybe rub your hands together. For me, my mum used to stroke my forehead to make me go to sleep. It's like my eyes rolling back in my head, kind of pleasurable and relaxing. And so what happens is it actually shifts your brain waves into delta waves. It's a receptive parasympathetic state. And when we have traumatic memories, it actually encodes these memories in our brains, in our cells, and kind of gives them these little trigger markings. And so if we have an event in our past that created a traumatic feeling in our bodies where there was a vulnerable landscape, maybe there was stress, maybe there was abuse around there, maybe there was some kind of dysfunction around there that already made us vulnerable. And then there was this event that we created a meaning to it. And it got locked in this place when we felt it was inescapable. We felt there was no escape. And so our brain codes it and files it. I think there's like little receptors, and it freezes it and stores that belief, that event in our brain and kind of says, warning, warning, warning. And so when we have something that maybe even just slightly reminds us of that, the warning signals go off in our brain and we pull ourselves back. It's kind of like, let's say, you touched the hot plate when you were little and you pulled your hand back, but you got a big burn now. Now your brain, before you even have to think about it, it might keep on walking slowly past the hot plate. Or it might go, oh, how can I avoid and not use recipes that use that hot plate? Because of this time back when you maybe don't even remember, you maybe have no conscious memory, but your body still knows and your subconscious has still created the massive storehouse. And so just by using this infant massage touch and distraction techniques, we can go in and shift the relationship to this memory and this charge. And so we actually did it for about 3 or 4 minutes for Pete. And then I said to him, so now when you relate to this memory, what do you notice? How has it changed? And he looked at me and he said, it wasn't. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, it didn't. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I can't find the memory. And he said, and he's looking around at me and he's going, I'm trying to open all these cupboard doors in my mind and I can't find it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. All right, well, let's do the next one. And he goes, no. He goes, stop. He goes, Bianca, you're a witch. What have you done to my brain? I was like, shh, don't tell the church. And, he's like, for days afterwards, he was processing the fact he couldn't find this memory. But he said, I've probably thought about that. It's touch base in my brain probably every day for at least the last 30 years. So that was massive to see that happen in him because I'd already had my own relationship with it, which I'm going to share with you in the next podcast. I worked this on my little 6-year-old daughter, Dakota, and she's sitting there at the table and she just randomly said, Mom, I'm never going to go on a boat again. I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, because we're on a boat. And someone said, oh, you got sick. And she goes, no, we're on a boat and we went outside and you made a scary noise and I don't ever want to go on a boat again. I have a terrible cheekiness. It's probably from my dad, where I think it's great fun to have a little bit of a scare. So it was very dark. It was on the ferry from the North Island to the South Island, New Zealand. And yeah, I made some scary noise that made her feel. It was a very traumatic feeling. She gave some meaning to it, which is probably it's not safe to go on boats. There was already a vulnerable landscape of feeling defenseless and then inescapable. We're just on a boat in the middle of nowhere. You can't see anything. And I said to him, so when you go into that memory, darling, what does that feel like? I'm so very sorry for being a bad mummy and naughty mummy for making that scary noise. And when you go into that memory, what do you notice? Like, how strong is that memory? Is it like traffic light and red out of red danger? Is it like, or is it, not very much? And she's like, starts crying. She goes, it was scary. It scared me. And so we just shifted straight into this, turned into a little game. And I used this infant massage touch and then played the distraction techniques. And honestly, after about 3 minutes, I said to her next, I said, now, what do you remember about the boat? Now, what do you remember about that memory? First, I said, and she looked up. She stopped and she looked up to the right, up to the ceiling to the right, and then she looked up to the ceiling to the left. Right, then left. Right, then left. Right, then left, over and over again for about 30 seconds. And we all started laughing. And she goes, I can't remember. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, okay, good. Good, you don't. I'm off the hook. And then a little while later, she goes, oh, I remember. So cute how she says, I remember. I was on a boat and you scared me, Mom. And she's laughing about it. And maybe when she got home from school, I said, what do you remember about the boat? She goes, oh, I can't remember. And the next day I said, what do you remember about the boat? She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So essentially, the moral to the story is that all of the hard work, it's like I've been doing these really hard roads up the mountain, down the mountain, and around the side cliff of the mountain. And I've been studying how high performers approach success in their business. What driver points do they use? What does it look like when they hit their inner ceiling? What does it look like when they're self-sabotaging? And I've done it through messaging, through marketing, through delegation, through leadership, through sales, through offers, through premium positioning. And what this web of neural networking of experience and collating data has allowed me to do is combine all the different lived experience, all the different case studies, and all the different techniques. This last one of havening has allowed me to completely collapse time and quantum leap the results of my clients and for myself as well. And it's like my work has always been really about integrity, about depth, certainly accessing power from a more feminine, creative, creatrix way rather than a masculine, striving, penetrative way. Yes, all those things are true. And one of the parts that I always thought was, and it takes time for this change to be imbued, to be ingested, and to reset your trajectory. I still believe that you want to make sure that changes are digested and metabolized and turned into muscle and applied in new ways with new tools. But what I can access now is precision and speed that does not compromise the quality and caliber of the result. And at the moment, at the time of this recording, I am looking for case studies that I can collapse the time between your reality now and the vision that you can see so that you can achieve those results in a fraction of the time without sacrificing anything that matters to you, without compromising your values, by actually surrendering more deeply into the truth, into the embodiment that is you. And I just give so much thanks and grace and gratitude to the beautiful mentors, friends, sisters, people that I can really trust that have held me in this transition and have brought me to my own. It's like the precision of a skating boot on the ice. That's where it's been. And maybe I've been using a snow plow. Then maybe I started using a snow curler thing, like a hockey stick thing. And now I can actually cut through with the precision of a scalpel. So I guess it's the shift of really having a surgical solution to seeing where entrepreneurs might be holding themselves back, using these dysfunctional patterns that were encoded from the past, and then just going in there and cutting it out so it no longer needs to impede or be a part of your decisions in a way that holds you back from declaring exactly what it is that you want. So if you are interested to find out what is the pattern that might be going on for you and how to decode it, how to rewrite it, and then how to set yourself on a completely new trajectory where your most thriving, brilliant future is possible for you, collapse the timeline and stay on that trajectory. In the past, using old sales paradigms, it was like, oh, I don't want to get people, like, what's the point of getting people results fast? It's a pretty terrible business model if you can shift somebody's state, beliefs, memories from 30 years in just one session, in just 5 minutes. But as I've done my own work in allowing ease and allowing visibility to feel more safe and stepping into my own most creative self-expression and my most highest value mastery, I'm like, oh, great. Now what we do is we can connect people to their innate power. And it's about embodying that in every area of our life so that we can stay on this trajectory, so that we can accustom ourselves to the altitude as we go up to the mountain, as we operate at high peaks. The need for that precision, the need for that alignment, even when other things happen, because it's not like we came to be a human so that everything can just be easy, like infant manifestations. That's why we were in a non-human form. We came here because we want to apply ourselves. We want the learning. We want the build up. We want the tension. We want to see what's really possible when we put our pedal to the metal. I like the saying of you never really know the strength of the anchor until you really feel the force of the storm. And I feel like this is what we come to earth for as humans, to see what are we really capable of when we expose ourselves to the elements of what it really means to be human. So yeah, it's like once you get the power, it's like, now what can I do with it? The journey just doesn't stop there. It's like, oh, cool. I've basically based my whole identity on that belief or on that memory. Now, who do I get to be? And that's the most exciting work for me ever. So check out the links below. Find that biancreate.com/diagnostic. Find that pattern and reach out to me if you want to be a case study, because I want to find out what's the core memory, feeling, event, or meaning that you gave to it in the past that is keeping or perpetuating this pattern that's creating an invisible ceiling, trying to keep you safe from the next level of success that you know is possible, but hasn't yet manifested. In the next video, I'm going to show you what happened when I used this methodology on myself and why it completely shifted how I operate in my business. The self-sabotaging pattern I dissolved had been running for more than 3 decades. And when it was gone, everything changed. So check out the video, How I Dissolved a 30-Year-Old Self-Sabotaging Pattern in just 15 minutes to see what that actually looked like.